am here in Portland because I believe in our teachers, I believe in the city, I believe in what's possible.
Some significant changes coming to Portland Public Schools this fall, including a new superintendent, Dr. Kimberlee Armstrong. She tells Katu she plans to advocate for more funding from the legislature. With Portland Public Schools returning next week, students and staff can look forward to new changes. Katu's Tanvi Varma sat down with Dr. Armstrong. So Tanvi, what did she tell you about the funding crisis in schools?
Well, Deb, Dr. Armstrong said part of the crisis is the fact that students' needs are changing. And so it's not just about setting students up for success at school, but setting them up for success in life.
Dr. Kimberlee Armstrong was once a public school teacher who rose up the ranks and eventually became a deputy superintendent at Evergreen Public Schools.
So after becoming a public school teacher, I then had the opportunity to serve as an administrator, both at the high school and middle school level, and then work at district office across 3 different states and 3 different district offices.
She comes to Portland Public Schools after a whirlwind teacher strike, resulting in higher wages for teachers and more planning time in the classroom, amongst a host of other changes. All this happening while the district made about $30 million in cuts.
So you're taking this job at a unique time when teachers are asking for more, and you guys have agreed to give them more, but you guys have also said that you don't have enough funding. So how do you plan to take this challenge on?
Well, our teachers are depending on us to make sure that we continue to resource in a way that not only keeps the profession competitive and draws interest, but to also make sure that we provide the resources that we need to provide. We want the budget to align with our values, and we value teaching and learning, the work that happens in the classroom, the support to uplift the learning, and then the ways in which we resource our schools.
Members of the PPS board have called upon the legislature several times to increase funding, change their formula, reevaluate things. Do you plan on speaking to members of the legislature, and if so, what would you ask of them?
Oh, absolutely. I plan on leaning in to the conversation with legislators. I think my question is, how can I support? What stories do you need to hear? What do you need to experience? What do you need to see to understand the reality that we're facing here in Portland?
And school is in session next Tuesday. Another significant change coming is all students in PBS will qualify for free breakfast and free lunch. For an extended version of our interview with Dr. Armstrong, please head to our YouTube channel at k2.com. Reporting live in North Portland, Tanvi Verma, K2 News.
Tanvi, thank you.
All right, so for the record, can I have your first and last name?
Yeah, absolutely. Kimberlee Armstrong, Kimberlee, Armstrong, Armstrong.
So Dr. Armstrong, tell us a little bit about your background and what brings you here as the new superintendent.
Oh, well, you know, I'm really excited. I'm a kiddo who was born in Seattle, and because of my father being in the military, we moved to California, where I essentially grew up. I had the opportunity to attend schools in different cities there and really found my way back to the Pacific Northwest after I graduated from college. I'm a second career teacher. It wasn't my first career, and I found teaching after being inspired, being in classrooms and looking at the work that was happening, and being inspired to be a part of making a difference. So after becoming a public school teacher, I then had the opportunity to serve as an administrator, both at the high school and middle school level, and then work at district office across 3 different states and 3 different district offices. And so I'm excited to come with some perspective and experiences from 3 other places where work was happening and a difference was being made for students. And so I'm just excited to be here.
Why PPS?
Oh. Well, I am here in Portland because I believe in our teachers, I believe in the city, I believe in what's possible. You know, I hear the narrative out there about some of our schools, about some of our kids, and it's disheartening. You know, we have an amazing opportunity to change the narrative for our state, for our city, by uplifting our schools, and I'm here to do that work.
What are the biggest issues facing PPS, and what are your ideas on changing those issues?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I would say that one of the primary issues that we're facing that's ahead of us is funding. We're looking at another budget deficit where we'll most likely need to make some pretty significant reductions. We are counting on our legislators and our other policymakers to really have a conversation about current service level and increasing those funds. And I know there's been some work out of the governor's office, and I'm really hopeful and excited to see what the result of that will be. But we absolutely have to fund schools so that we're able to offer high quality programs and options for our students.
So you're taking this job at a unique time when teachers are asking for more, and you guys have agreed to give them more, but you guys have also said that you don't have enough funding. So how do you plan to take this challenge on?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, our teachers are depending on us to make sure that we continue to resource in a way that not only keeps the profession competitive and draws interest, but to also make sure that we provide the resources that we need to provide. We have already been having conversations here at the district office on the executive leadership team about budget conversations and getting that work started early. We want the budget to align with our values, and we value teaching and learning, the work that happens in the classroom, the support to uplift the learning, and then the ways in which we resource our schools. And so I think we start the conversation on values and needs in our buildings.
And your first term, you're looking at cell phone ban policies, free lunch and breakfast for all, later start times. There's a lot to digest. Yeah. What do you think, and any thoughts on execution?
Yeah, well, there are a lot of things that are happening in Portland right now that I am so excited to share. We are excited to offer our families the option to send their students to school for. We are super excited to offer our families the opportunity to have their students access breakfast and lunch for free, and that's at all of our sites for all of our students. There is no qualification process. We are also having conversations about cell phones and the distraction that it is for many students in our classrooms, and what we can do as a school system to support that conversation in schools. I'm also excited about the work that we're doing for our littlest learners, our 3 and 4-year-olds. We have just over 900 slots of free pre-K for our 3 and 4-year-olds, and we're actively enrolling. And we know that the conversation of leveling the playing field, the conversation on raising achievement starts with that early learning access.
And is pre-K a new thing, or are you guys just expanding it?
Oh, no. So pre-K has been happening here in Portland for quite some time, and we want our families to take advantage of it. We have many slots available. We want our students to be exposed to literacy, to be exposed to math concepts, to get into the process of learning, because we've seen the research that comes out about when you involve your littlest learners in school and the results that happen by the time they reach kindergarten.
And I want to talk about funding. So we've established there's not enough money coming into schools. What do you think went wrong, and what do you think should change going forward?
Yeah, I appreciate the conversation on funding, and it's an important one. And I know that I'm not alone. There's many superintendents across the state, across the region, as well as policymakers and our legislators who are actively involved in conversations about our current service level. The reality is that the needs of our students are changing day by day. No longer is it about just sending your student to school to be able to access the learning and then they go home and that's it. We're needing to provide some wraparound support. We're needing to lean into conversations on mental health. We have more and more students who are being identified as needing specialized support, individualized education plans, and that costs money. And we need to be able to fund those things. Every single one of our students deserve to be in a classroom where they can emerge as their best selves and be in an environment that will set them up to be competitive.
Members of the PPS board have called upon the legislature several times to increase funding, change their formula, reevaluate things. Do you plan on speaking to members of the legislature? And if so, what would you ask of them?
Oh, absolutely. I plan on leaning in to the conversation with legislators. I think my question is, how can I support? What stories do you need to hear? What do you need to experience? What do you need to see to understand the reality that we're facing here in Portland? You know, this isn't this isn't, I guess I would say that it's going to take all of us, right? This isn't a one person's job. It's going to take an entire city, an entire community, an entire state to really fix some of the woes in our funding model and really make sure that schools are set up for success.
One thing about the Portland Association of Teachers is they've been talking a lot about increasing equity for students of color. What do you think needs to be done in addition to what's already being done at PPS?
Yeah, well, I appreciate that our Portland Association of Teachers want to prioritize equity in learning. Their desire matches mine. They want to make sure that the educators have access to training that allows them to be able to navigate complex situations and experiences that will help increase relationships with students. Like, I want to see, I want to hear, I want to be aligned in the conversation around what it would look like to make sure that all of our employees are involved in conversations around equity and access. It's really a conversation about justice, right? That all of our students have equal access. You know, a lot of times people think that when we start talking about equity, it means taking resources away from a certain group. And that's not the conversation. The conversation is about making sure that every group has access to what it is that they need to be successful. PAT leans into that conversation, and I plan to lean into that conversation along with them.
There's been many divides between PAT parents, PAT administration. One thing that PAT had suggested doing is teaching Palestine in the classrooms. I believe the district reaffirmed that teaching politics and such is, wow, what a time.
Hey.
Yeah.
Saved by the bell. Oh my God. Well, can
Yeah, I'll just speak to, I know there's been lots of conversations and I know that there's been lots of conversations about directions and decisions either made at the district office or made through some of our labor partners. And while I wasn't here for those decisions, I think what I can tell you and what I can commit to is making sure that we develop and emerge as one voice and that we're aligned and that we're together in our belief of what it takes to be supportive to our students. That's the work that we're called to do, and that's what we're about.
Well, thank you for talking with us, Dr. Armstrong. We appreciate your time. Your office is beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just a